Hello, everyone. Welcome to the practical course on warehouse and distribution management. In this course, we will learn about the stacking of goods. According to the warehousing operation plan, after the acceptance of the goods is correct, they need to be stacked and packed. First of all, the stacking of goods is based on the characteristics, shape, specifications, and weight of the goods, quantity and packaging, quality, etc. Comprehensive consideration of the ground load. Storage requirements. The goods will be stacked separately into various stacks. Then, we come to understand the principles and requirements of goods stacking. The first one is to store by partition and classification. Different categories of items are classified and stored. Even partition storage. Items of different specifications and batches are stored in different positions and piles. The remaining items are to be separated from the original. Items that need to be sorted should be sorted and stored after sorting. Classified storage of goods with different flows and modes of operation. The second step, we have to choose the appropriate handling activity in order to reduce the operation time, the number of times, improve warehouse logistics speed. Should be in accordance with the requirements of the item operation. It is reasonable to choose the handling activity of goods for high-activity storage items. Should pay attention to neatly placed, so as not to block the passage, waste of space. Third, we should face the channel. No enclosure, no blockage facing the passageway. One is that all goods have one side of the stack and location connected to the passageway, next to the passageway, in order to be able to do direct work on the items. The second is that the front of the goods stack and the storage items should face the channel as much as possible for viewing. Fourth, it should be placed as high as possible to improve storage efficiency, effective use of the reservoir volume. It should be placed as high as possible to prevent breakage, to ensure safety. Shelves and other storage equipment should be used as much as possible. The fifth is to pay attention to putting light goods on the top and heavy goods on the bottom, ensure stability. What about when goods overlap and stack? Heavy goods should be placed below. What about light goods? Put it on top. Locations are selected according to the outbound frequency. What about goods with a high frequency of shipments and purchases? Should be placed near the entrance, a place that is easy to work in. What about slow-moving goods? Put it a little farther from the entrance. What about seasonal goods? The location is selected based on seasonal characteristics. The seventh is that the same item is kept in the same place. In order to improve the efficiency of operation and storage, the same or similar goods shall be kept in the same place. The employee's familiarity with the location of the goods in the warehouse will directly affect the time of entry and exit. What about similar goods? Placing in close proximity is also an important way to improve efficiency. The eighth is the principle of easy identification. Store goods of different colors, marks, classifications, specifications, and styles separately. The ninth is the principle of easy counting. The quantity of goods on each floor is as equal as possible. The 10th is to arrange the storage method according to the shape. Choose the shape of the stacking to adapt to the shape. It is beneficial to the custody effect. In addition, the goods shall meet the following requirements before stacking. First of all, there are certain requirements for the stacking site. The stacking site can be divided into three types. The stacking site in the warehouse, stacking site in the cargo shed, and open stacking site. Different types of stacking sites have different requirements for stacking operations. The stacking site in the warehouse shall be flat, firm, and friction resistant. The general requirement is that the load-bearing capacity per square meter is 5 to 10 tons. The stacking area in the cargo shed must be surrounded by a good drainage system. The open-air stacking site is based on the load-bearing requirements of the stockpiled goods on the ground. Use rammed stone, mud, gravel, or reinforced concrete. What about the requirements for stacking goods? Goods need to meet the following requirements before the official stacking. First of all, the name, specification, quantity, and quality of the goods should be found out. The goods have been coded according to the needs of logistics and the outsourcing of the goods in good condition and cleaning. Clear identification. If there are some damp, rust and quality change of unqualified goods, should be processed to restore or reject. Then the goods to be stacked have been assembled and unitized in order to facilitate mechanized operations. Then there are several points in the requirements for stacking operations. The first is solid, reasonable, neat. Then there is quantitative, saving convenience. In addition to that, we should also pay attention to the 5 distance requirements of the stack. The first is this stack spacing. The required distance between stacks of goods is referred to as the stack spacing. Often with the branch as a stack spacing. The stack spacing is usually 1 meter. Make clear spacing between stacks to prevent confusion and facilitate access operations. From the role of ventilation and heat dissipation. Convenient fire work. The second is this wall distance. In order to prevent the influence of moisture on the warehouse wall and the fence of the yard on the goods, also for heat dissipation and ventilation. Firefighting work. For construction safety dredging operations, the stack must have a wall spacing. Wall distance is divided into internal wall distance and external wall distance. Interior wall distance refers to the distance between the goods and the wall without windows. Here the moisture is relatively less. The general distance is more than 0.3 meters. The outer wall distance refers to the distance between the goods and the wall with windows. The humidity here is higher than it is. The general distance is more than 0.5 meters. The third is the column spacing. In order to prevent the moisture of the warehouse pillars from affecting the goods, also to protect the security of the warehouse building, there must be a column spacing. Column distance is the distance between the stack and the column. Generally, it is about 0.1 to 0.3 meters. The fourth is the top distance. The distance between the maximum height of the stack and the warehouse, the shed, the roof, and the beam is called the top distance. The top distance can facilitate loading and unloading operations, can ventilate and dissipate heat, conducive to firefighting. It is conducive to sending and receiving operations. The average flat top floor has a roof of more than 0.5 meters, the herringbone roof. The top surface of the stacking shall not exceed the beam. The last one is the lamp distance. The necessary distance between the stack and the lamp is called the lamp distance. In order to ensure the safety of stored goods, prevent the heat emitted by the lighting lamp, causing a fire near the burning of goods, there must be enough safety lamp distance in the cargo stack. Lamp distance, according to this regulation, a safe distance of not less than 0.5 meters. So, how to design the stack? First we have to design this base. The pile base is the foundation of the pile. Its main function is to bear the weight of the entire stack. The vertical pressure of the commodity is transmitted to the floor to isolate the commodity from the ground, from the role of waterproof, moisture-proof, ventilation. The pile base space provides convenient conditions for handling operations. Therefore, the basic requirement for the pile base is to put the weight of the entire cargo. Uniform transfer to the floor. Ensure good moisture and ventilation. Ensure that the goods stored on the pile base are not deformed. What are the type of stack? The determination of the stack type needs to be based on the characteristics of the goods. The need for safekeeping can implement the principle of convenient, rapid and full use of warehouse capacity. The common stack shapes of the warehouse are platform stack, ridge stack, row stack, three-dimensional trapezoidal stack, well-shaped stack, plum-shaped stack, etc. The platform stack is a layer of goods tiled in the same direction on the ground floor, continues to pile up vertically. The number of pieces of goods on each floor is in the same direction. The pile shape is flat. The shape of the stack is cuboid. The stack does not have a very strong stability. The ridge stack is stacked to a certain height according to the method of platform stacking. Gradually shrink each layer in a manner of stitching. Finally, the top of the ridge to form a ridge-shaped ridge pile. It is the primary stacking configuration for cargo in the yard. The ridge pile is a pile shape made by the platform pile to meet the needs of covering and drainage. Therefore, it has a platform stack and is easy to operate. Advantages of small footprint. However, the ridge pile is narrow due to the top pressure seam and the irregular shape, causing inconvenience in counting the goods. The row and row stack will place each batch of goods in rows or columns. Each row or column is one or more stories high. The row stacking is suitable for the stacking of small quantities of goods. Long strip of cargo stacking operation is convenient, unobstructed by others. However, the quantity per pallet is relatively small. There are gaps between the stacks. The pile base is too small to be piled high. Therefore, the area occupied by the site is relatively large. The utilization rate of the storage yard is low. The three-dimensional trapezoidal stack is based on the discharge of goods in the same direction at the bottom, upward layer by layer in the same direction of the subtractive, pressure joint stacking. The top of the stack is flat. The whole pile shape is a three-dimensional trapezoidal shape with a large bottom and a small top. Suitable for bagged goods with loose packaging, and the stacking of goods that are not flat and cannot be stacked vertically. The well-shaped stack is used for stacking long steel pipes, steel, and wooden square. The well-shaped stack is stable, but the goods on each side of the stack may roll off, needs to be tied or tightened. The well-shaped stack is inconvenient to operate, need to constantly change the direction of the job. The plum blossom shape is more compact, make full use of the gap between the goods, make better use of the storage area, for barreled goods that can be stacked in multiple layers. When stacking the second layer, to press each piece of cargo between the three pieces of cargo on the lower level, all four sides are reduced by half a piece, form a three-dimensional plum-shaped stack. Then the GRE air conditioner in this arrival needs to be stacked in the flat warehouse. So how to design stacking? We next calculate the palletizing parameters. Stacking parameters refers to the length, width and height of the stack, and the overall dimensions of the stack. The three parameters of the stack determine the size of the stack. Each stack should not be too large, in order to facilitate the first in, first out, and accelerate the turnover of goods. In the first step, let's calculate the number of layers of the stack. In the preparation of the storage, we have calculated the number of stacking layers for external and on-hook machines. It's 5 floors. In the second step, let's calculate the number of single layers. Single layer quantity of external machine and on-hook machine is equal to the total number divided by the number of layers. Then we got 200 boxes respectively. The third step is to calculate the stack width. The usable width of the flat garage is 9 meters, can pile 10 boxes. The fourth step is to calculate the length of the stack. So we know that the total number of one floor is 200 boxes, the width of the pile is 10 boxes, then the pile length is 20 boxes. So to sum up, stacking design of GRE air conditioner external and on-hook all are pile length 20 boxes, stack width 10 boxes, stack height 5 layers. So how do you group the goods that need to be placed on the shelves? Common palletizing methods include the stretch wrap method and the interlocking method, crisscross type, rotating staggered type, etc. Overlapping goods are arranged in exactly the same number of layers. There is no overlapping between layers. The stack is neat. The advantage is simple operation. Technology is easy to send and receive. The disadvantage is poor stability, easy to stack. Therefore, the use of rope net, plastic elastic film, and other auxiliary materials to prevent collapse. It is the main stack type of mechanized operation. The forward and reverse staggered type is in the same layer. Different goods to 90 degrees vertical stacking. The two adjacent layers of goods are stacked in the form another layer is rotated 180 degrees in this form. The advantage is that the bite strength of different layers is higher. Adjacent laminated seam stability is higher. The disadvantage is that the operation is more troublesome. The bearing weight in the vertical direction is not high. So the crisscross pattern is the same length. The width arrangement can be placed horizontally with goods of equal length. A layer of vertical crisscross stacking to form a square stack. The advantage is better stability. Disadvantages can only be used for square pallets. It is one of the main stacking types of mechanized operations. Then the rotating staggered type. The goods rotating staggered placement. The advantage is that it can effectively improve the utilization rate of pallets and the stability of cargo pallets. The disadvantage is that the operation is difficult. Then the Lux brightening body soap we delivered this time and automotive air conditioning compressors need to be designed with a pallet assembly. So what kind of group support method is suitable for these two kinds of goods? We can see that Lux brightening body wash can be overlapped or staggered. To maximize the use of pallets, one layer can be piled up with 21 boxes. What about the palletizing method? As shown in the figure, automotive air conditioning compressor can be rotary staggered. A layer can pile 9 boxes. Palletizing method, also as shown in Fig. Okay, that's the end of the lesson. Thank you, everyone.